Let me introduce Ravina, who was one of my best assistants.
Okay, let's put it clearly.
Okay,
Slavery.
and the reason why we
One of
had
his best slaves.
a slave, sorry, yes.
Yeah, I mean, let's get the truth out now.
And the
PK.
reason why I had her is because she had the perfect mouth.
Okay, now, can you make that clear? That sounds pretty obscene.
No. So whenever we see in our profession, we have perfect feet, we have foot models, we have perfect hands because we need hand models. So most of the time when you see hands and feet and mouth especially, they don't belong to the model that is on the screen. Those have been shot separately.
That's the art of what advertising does.
So Ravina was actually came to us from White Light, who said she's done a great job and she's got the perfect mouth. So we looked at her mouth from all angles and said yes. So we have to have her as in-house. So I said, "Tu jhadu pocha bhi karegi?" She says, "हाँ करूँगी." She was very into at that time, and so she became an assistant. So I'm going to ask her questions. So, what was your first day in Genesis like?
Okay, so let me give a little background now. Since the truth has come out that they hired me only because they had a in-house, free of cost mouth model. This is the truth that has come out of all what he said. Underline, free of cost, FOC. Well, first and foremost, I must start with saying that our hearts, our soul, our minds right now are all with Abhinandan, as everyone knows, and that is something that's very, very heavy in my heart since yesterday. So we all wish him all the best, and I take this opportunity to say that we all stand by our forces, whatever the decision. And that is something that's been playing in my mind and heart, so here, I've kept it out in the open. Well, coming back to why we are here this afternoon now, actually, I think it's already 12. But Prahlad is very, very right. I actually started, bumbled into my way into modeling. I didn't want to. I kept getting offers from, all these advertising agencies, and just as a short, I did a couple of ads. And then I actually realized that acting was not what I really wanted to do. In all my interviews, even at that time, I would tell you that all the time. And Prahlad would be, why are you wasting your time behind the camera? You should be in front of the camera. And I anyway joined him as an assistant because I was also fooled by this entire charm and this entire intelligence facade of Prahlad Kakkad, and I thought, this is the man. He is the boss. Who's the daddy? And the daddy of advertising at that time for all of us who grew up in those days was Prahlad Kakkad, and is till date, because I don't know any other genius who I've met beforehand who is like him at all. So this is one good thing I'm saying. And I PK.
You never said this to me before.
I didn't want to flatter you. Yeah?
I would have taken you out.
You would have become worse. And that's when I joined Genesis. And I can say that that was the genesis of my life, because I metamorphosized into someone else entirely. I became independent. I could actually do things which I had not even thought that I would be doing literally. I come from a film family though, so I'm familiar with film sets and everything, but I was never a person who could be in front of the camera. I was a shy, plump, laddu kind of a person, and I still am. Yeah.
No.
But now you've overtaken me. You're the big laddu now. And so it was not something that I dreamed of, that I'll be a model or I'll get into movies or anything of that sort. But yes, there was that little, that little niggling thing. Okay, let's call it the itch, because itch is the word for today. And that I have to do something, and there is something that I wanted to do. And I was interested in advertising in post, pre-production, production. And that's when I joined Genesis. Till then I was, I think I was straight out of school. I was, 16 and a half. And so it was like an internship. Please don't accuse him of child labor.
No, totally.
But it was
child slaves. What do you mean child labor?
So it was an internship that I got into straight out of school. And in the meanwhile, I was also doing my modeling. And I enjoyed it because that was the first time I actually traveled in local trains. I used to take a bus to Santa Cruz Station, from Santa Cruz Station to Mahalakshmi Station, then the rest of the bit to the building, the Everest building. And that was just fantastic experience for me because this is the time where I actually grew up suddenly. And I thought it was a great experience for me. But all along at that time, I kept getting film offers. And Prahlad kept saying that, you need to, instead of sweeping floors, which I've actually done for him on his sets.
Worse.
Yeah. You want to go ahead on the vomit incident or should I?
Well, we were shooting a chocolate film with young Aftab. Aftab was a child model, Aftab Shivdasani, before he thought he could become an adult actor. But he was a very, very good child model. And even she'll, endorse that. Now, we had a white set. And to repaint the set and for it to dry would take 2 hours. So I had told all my trusty slaves.
Keep a bucket ready.
I told it, just remember that nobody should walk across the set with his shoes or anything like that because if it spoils, we'll be wasting 2 hours. What we didn't anticipate was that young Aftab Shivdasani would give us 16 takes while eating the damn chocolate. So after the 11th take, Raveena comes to me and whispers in my ear, he's turning green. So I said, so what? What do you mean he's turning green? He says, he's turning green. I think he's going to vomit. So I said, so? She says, the set will get spoiled. I said, so what are you doing about it? So she says, I don't know. I said, if he vomits on my set, you're going to be murga for the rest of the day. So she said, okay. And sure enough, on the 15th take, he goes, and he vomits. And because she's so well trained, believe me, I was really impressed. She looked around, no bucket, no pan, no nothing, ran on the set in her socks, no shoes, caught the vomit in her hand.
Yeah, gross.
She caught the vomit in her hand and threw it out of the set.
Actually ran with it.
Now, there were 2 rules in the office which she followed, and now she understands why. So she followed it through into her other career, which is no assistant sits, because I believe that all assistants have their brains in their backsides. So when you sit on your brains, then it takes a little time to kick in. Okay? So none of the assistants ever sat. If she had been sitting on a chair, she would have never caught the vomit.
Well, I was the clapper girl and I was the closest, and yes, there was no bucket and we were not prepared for something like this to happen. But nonetheless, this kind of training actually initially, which I got from my dad, because my dad is also a producer, director in the movies. He's made films like Khel Khel Mein and Khuddar and Majboor with Amit Ji and all. I don't know if you all remember, or your generation who's watched those films. Kulam Khula is a song which still goes on. So a little bit of seeing him and then ultimately getting completely refined by Prahlad. I think I became more of a producer's actor than an actor who would reach the sets and throw tantrums. I had no shame in picking up my own shoes and carrying my own stuff, even carrying my own chair and putting it on location, whereas the other stars waited for a dress man to make them wear their shoes or fan them or pick up their own chairs. So I think that entire training kind of kicked in. And that, I think, did make me apart from the rest, because that was always spoken about. And that is the kind of trendsetter that I would be proud to be known as someone who can achieve on her own, don't need an entire entourage to kind of back me up to even lift a finger from here to there. I'd carry my own coffee, and it came as a shock to a lot of people, even on my first film sets, where they had people running around other stars, and I would be like, sorry, but Dada, don't please touch my shoes, I'll carry my own shoes. And I think that is the way that kind of training helped me, and which I took it on as well.
What was nice about Raveena was in the time that she spent with us, which wasn't a lot, it was about a year. How much time did you spend with us?
About a year and a half.
Year and a half,
And
yeah.
I didn't get paid even one day.
Yeah, of course you got paid. You got paid for modeling.
Yeah, only for modeling. 500 bucks was my first 500 rupees. I remember that 500 rupees was such a big thing for me because my mom used to love listening to the radio. And since we were kids, every morning when she'd wake us up, first thing would be on was the radio. And I got 500 rupees. And in those days, it was possible to buy a cassette player and radio for 500 rupees. And that was the first thing that I gifted her. When I got that first 500 rupees, you know for what? Biska noodles.
Yes.
You remember that?
Of course. But the most important thing was that when I look back at Ravina, is that she became a professional. Because she comes from a production house family, nothing on the set is too little, too lowly, or taboo for her at all. She is a professional to the core. So she'll change roles from being a star actor to a production assistant to a producer to understand where she can contribute in saving money to the production house. Now that sense of responsibility, I think, is what she carried with her into the film industry. And at that time, it was completely unknown that a professional human being has walked onto the set, is willing to multitask, including help in productions in between takes in case she wasn't required, because she was damn good at it.
Well, thank you so much. And I think if I consider myself a trendsetter, I think it would not be if I could claim that, oh, you know, I did trendset fashions, which actually I did because I remember Patthar Ke Phool, I used to wear those hoops. And suddenly all my friends, because I was still in college, so during Patthar Ke Phool when I was in FIJC, and in fact when we were shooting that song Kabhi Tu Chhaliya Lagta Hai, I would get into a corner and I would study, and when I meet Rekha and Chini Prakash even today, they say, remember after each shot you used to sit with your textbooks and study. I would be like, yeah. So I attended college till my principal finally came and said, listen, it's not possible for you to come because then we can't manage the crowds. So try doing a correspondence course kind of thing. And in those days, when this entire thing happens, all my friends from college would come and tell me, oh, you know, after Patthar Ke Phool released, that your hoop earrings and that skirt with the leggings that I was wearing. Now, all this, I think I'm an accidental trendsetter. Let me tell you, that leggings with the short skirt happened because I refused to wear short skirts. I didn't want to wear short skirts. Not out of anything that, you know, there were a lot of things that are accidental. I'll just come to that, one thing which even he teases me up till date, or he used to tease me mercilessly at that time. So the first thing that happened was my short skirts and the hoops that came into vogue. I was the first person to get a tattoo because I used to think tattoos are damn cool, and the concept was still not there in India. And I went to this parlor, and at that time they got these darkening things for eyebrows where they would do permanent eyebrows. And I drew a Scorpio, and I told that lady, you know, I want this tattoo. So she looked and said, लेकिन झिंगा क्यों आपको लगाने का है? I said, नहीं ये prawn नहीं है, झिंगा नहीं, इसको Scorpio बोलते हैं. Then I opened a midday and I showed her, देखो sunshine, मेरे को sunshine वाला tattoo चाहिए. And she actually sat and drew. So that was my first, thing. And I think I was the first in the industry to get a tattoo done as well. But that accidental leggings and short skirt that went into vogue was because I didn't want to show my legs on screen. I was so conscious because I didn't want to be an actor, right? So I had no training. I didn't go to any acting school. I didn't do any dance classes, nothing. The day I said yes, straight from Prahlad's office, I went next day to shoot and face the camera for a movie where thankfully my dialogue was only hello daddy. So it was nothing else that I had to do. So I got very lucky because I had no acting classes. Right? We just evolved. We'd not even shaped our eyebrows, and we had that ugly 80s ka permed hair. And yeah, I regret those things in life now. Permed hair, not happening again.
So her greatest itch, in my opinion, is something that she still hasn't managed to scratch. So she's done everything. She's become a mother, she's become a wife, she's become a mother, she's become an actress, she's been there, done that. Okay, but there's an itch. And I always knew it, which is why I actually accepted her as a part of my slave pen. Because all my slaves eventually did their itch. And
have
her
big
itch,
kidas,
her
you know, all
and
the
it
slaves
still
have big kidas.
is that she's going to be one of the greatest directors in this country.
Oh, thank you. Well, coming to that slowly again, it's for example, I did a lot of things when I turned 21. I've always kind of been a social activist, and I always grew up helping my mom. My mom used to do a lot of things for orphanages, old homes, etc., and I always used to visit them. The first decision that I took that I can call was trend setting at that time, because it never been heard of. Besides doing funny things like, wearing short skirts with leggings and doing stuff like that, was that I adopted two girls at the age of 21. And in those days, being a single mom and not being able to legally adopt was very, very tough. And that is something that I always wanted to do. I've always worked for the girl child, and it was unheard of. In fact, my parents supported me wholeheartedly, and they've been like grandparents to my girls all along till date. And but there would be a few aunties and stuff who'd be like, "अरे तुमने तो दो बच्चियों को गोद ले लिया." I was like, yeah, but they're not really small. They were 8 and 11. So in fact, my older one is almost like my friend, because she and me were only 11 years, 10 years apart. She was 11, I was about 21, 22, going to be 22. So we are more like best friends now. But the comments that I used to hear at weddings and stuff would be like, "Abhi tumse kaun shaadi karega? You come with so much baggage. Now you already have two girls. Which man is going to accept?" And I would be, listen, the man who loves me will have to love me for me, my parents, my daughters, my dogs, and my other wildlife work that I do exactly in that order. And then if he's man enough, will I accept him? Forget him accepting me. you know. And coming to that, my first boyfriend also was at the age of 21, which he made fun of me, and he had names which he gave me while at work, because I was trend set in a different way. You see?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. And while the rest of them would go party and, go carry on with drink and smoke and do the regular things that advertising people think it's damn cool to, hold a cigarette and, "Oh, we're so stressed out, I need chai and a ciggy." And I would wonder, can't you deal with it yourself? Why do you have to depend on substance? And, it would be a very cool thing to do. And as soon as pack up would happen, they would all, head out somewhere. And 10:30 would be pack up, and me would be heading back home, by train, and I'd be like, or someone going that side. Like Farah was working with us at that time. So a friend of mine, Farah, would drive her car, and I would get a lift back home in her car. And he would tease me with calling me all sorts of names, and
Always.
and then embarrass me highly when I got my first boyfriend, and say, "Oh, finally you've got a boyfriend at 21. My God, you're an old maid." I was like, "Yeah, thank you very much." So these were things which I thought having a boyfriend at 21 was quite a reverse trend setting, because that was not the norm, and not being exactly the prototype of what everyone thinks advertising is all about was also quite, for me, a reverse trend setting situation. But the biggest thing for me that was very, very gratifying and satisfying to date are my girls. Even now when I look at them as successful women, and the way touch wood they've been brought up, yes, definitely with my parents' help, they're successful girls in their own fields. One of them is a pharmaceutical executive now, working in South Africa, married to a South African white, settled with a beautiful baby boy. My younger one is settled, married in Goa. You met them. And married in Goa. And it feels just completely wonderful. And that is the phase that I did go through, where I broke all stereotypes of doing something that I wanted to do because I wanted to do it. That was the itch that I had. People had doubts whether I'd be able to handle a responsibility at such a young age. But that was something that I've always wanted to do. I used to go with mum to orphanages. I would want to bring every baby home that was rescued from somewhere, from some trash bin or something. And that's something that I've always wanted to do. There is a dream that I have, which that is my biggest itch also, that I will complete one day. And so I think these are the things that basically motivated me to kind of stand by as to what I had decided, or what I want to do, I will do. Besides the fact, not thinking about what other people think of me or what they want me to do, because they are not running my life. And it is my decision as to whatever I did and how. And I think I can't say more better the way my life has turned out on my terms and conditions, whether it was big movies that I left, which left a lot of people in shock, because to do a scene which didn't suit me, or I was not comfortable kissing on screen, so I never did that. I said, "Sorry, that's not something I'm comfortable." "Oh, but you'll have to leave the film because the scene is essential." I said, "I'll leave the film." So I didn't do things that I was not comfortable with because I wanted to always walk kind of walk the talk, a kind of a thing where if I have decided something for myself, is that what I am going to stick to? And here I am. So,
You know, as a woman, my office was run more or less by all these girls. I mean, the top management of my office were always women because they were like very.
just admit you like surrounded being by women.
No,
surrounded by
but
women
look
all
at
the
that.
time.
But look at the multitasking and the efficiency
I
that I
agree.
got out of that.
Women statistically have been proved. Sorry, guys. This is nothing personal. I love guys. I love men, and some men throughout my life have been my best friends. I've had more male best friends than women, so I love you guys. It's not that. But statistically and scientifically, it's been proven that women in administrative jobs prove much, much superior, and their input is far more superior than at a level of men. Sorry about that. That's statistics
No,
for
but
you. Yeah.
my office
afraid.
actually proves that in a small way. We were about 13 people in the office, of which the top 4 were all women, and all the guys used to have to work under the women. Some of them accepted it and grew to great stature. Some of them didn't accept it and left and are still where they started from. And there's a lot to learn. And the only way I can describe the girls in my office, and including Ravina, is that whatever they believed in, eventually, they were ferocious about. That's the only word that I can describe it. They were uncompromising. They had the capacity, which was the most important capacity, I think, in human endeavor, is to be able to walk away from something that you don't agree with, however important it is to you. Because I've always believed and taught the people in my office that if you cannot walk away from something that is so important to you that you're willing to compromise your principles and your life for, then you'll never get it. If you're willing to compromise your principles and your life, and you cannot walk away from something that is so important that you're willing to compromise, you will never get it. You will only get it if you can walk away.
You know, I kind of applied this theory of PKs in my professional and my personal life. And even personally, some of us really think sometimes that you're stuck in a relationship, but oh, if I don't do this, what will happen? But I have walked away of a relationship that the world thought was fantastic for me. But I had something even more fantastic waiting because I wanted it my way, and the kind of person that I wanted, which was true companionship and honesty. And that is something that matters to be much more than being a name to a certain extent. So what he says is that whether this you apply in your personal life or in your professional life, it all matters within yourself, the strength that you have to give yourself and manifest the happiness for yourself. It's kind of a manifestation, because what you want, you put it out and you will get. So for me, that is a very, very important thing that has worked. And I've not had to compromise. There's not one point in my life or one path in my life that I say, oh, I regret. So some people tell me, oh, what if you had done that film and you had not let go of that film? I said I wouldn't be here where I am, because I believe destiny has a certain path to follow. You learn from your mistakes as well. And if that path wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have met my husband. I wouldn't have done the kind of work that I'm doing today. I wouldn't have had my wonderful children, and I wouldn't be content and happy that I am today if I had compromised at any certain way. Because if I want to walk, I want to walk with my head held high. And quoting Frank Sinatra, that I did it my way. So that's the way I feel. Thank you, everybody, for a wonderful afternoon.
What I
we
want
are
to
over
ask you
talking
now
our
is,
time, you know that.
No, what I want to ask you is the most critical question.
Okay.
When are you going to direct?
Okay, so yeah, I should have told you. In fact, I'm close to that. Right now, I've joined hands with Arka Films, which produced Bahubali. So Arka and AA Films, that AA Films is our banner. We've joined hands and we're producing now content. 3 of the web series that have been passed have been written by me. So they're on web platforms. I wrote, PK, I put my brains to use, not sitting on my ass.
Excellent.
And So right now, I'm not in the process of directing, but I will be doing that very soon as well, because I'm also acting not in one of my produced, but on a different producer's thing. I'm doing a film also. I'm doing a couple of films also now. So I think I don't want to take on too much on my plate at the moment, but the minute I'm mentally free, and I know I'm going to be asked to direct one of my own web series very soon, but I'm going to refrain at the moment, but very soon.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I've always thought that you would direct, and that you would direct damn well. And I'm so proud of you.
So there are only two men, actually three men in my life who think so that I should be doing this. Always has been PK, who told me right in the beginning you should be acting, and here I am, which even my dad didn't think I could. And my dad always thought also that I should direct, because that was my intention of joining PK, right? I wanted to direct, I wanted to produce. And then my husband has been after me since the past 3-4 years to direct. And I've been like, okay, I'll take it time, because I also have 2 little children, my biological children, whom I also have to be there for. So whatever I do, I give my 100% in. And that's another very important thing that you guys should know, is that whatever you do at that time, give it your 100%, because until you don't be that driving force, you will not be able to get the result that you want, and you'll be unhappy with yourself. So when you do something, do it with total focus, give it your 100%, and see the magic happen. And that for me is very, very important again.
Thank you. Thank you, Ravina.
Thank you.
I'm really proud of you.
Aww.
Thank you so much, Ravina ma'am. Thank you. If I may please request you to stay on
Sure,
stage.
sure.
Could we please have our 10-year-old TEDx speaker who has a question for Ravina ma'am?
I'll just put this off. Okay, yeah. But then don't hold it close, it's kind of fuzzy. You come here, sweetie, next to me. Here, take this mic, I'll share Pralad's mic.
All right, I am itching to ask you a question. And that question is, I have an itch. And that itch is that I want to be a director, an actor, and a writer. Can I be all three?
Yes, definitely. So I've been an actor, I've not been a director yet. I'm a writer as well, and I'm a columnist as well. I've modeled as well. I do many more things, but you can be what you want to be. So just remember that. Once you've made up your mind, you work towards it, and you can, there's no word like impossible. It's I'm possible, right?
Wow.
So you are possible, and you will do it. So yes, you can do all three. Start off with me. Can I sign you up?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm totally fine with
Take
that.
Mama's permission first.
Don't worry, I will.
Don't worry. And if it itches, make that
Yeah.
itch harder, and then go for it.
I know, my
Yeah, and scratch
parents
yourself
always tell
silly.
me, work hard. If you work hard the most, can do anything and you will succeed in life.
And no one can take it away from you.
Yeah.
If you work hard and you've given it your full, you've given it your best, no one can take that success away from you. Okay?
Wow, thank you. Now
It's in your
really
hands.
keep that in my mind until I'm your age.
If I can do it, you can do it, girl. At your age, I didn't have the guts to stand up and speak like this. A big round of applause to her, guys. At your age, I didn't have the guts. So if I could do it, being what I was, you definitely can. Okay?
Thank you.